Hello, everybody. I am not dead. That's I think what you're supposed to say when you haven't made a YouTube video in a long time. So I don't know how many of you are just stumbling upon this video randomly or who know my channel. Real quick, I haven't done a video since the last Oscars, which is months and months away, months and months ago rather. And the reason for that is I kind of made a movie. It was and I made it on a separate YouTube channel. So, and it's called Captain Spirit, and it's a fan-made adaptation of the game The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit from the Life is Strange universe. And it was officially endorsed by Carson Morrissey and Shelby Davis, and they liked it, and I had a whole Q&A video live stream, and it was a really big deal. So I don't want to sound too vain. I'm going to leave the link in the description to my second channel where you can see it and also see the live stream. But that's pretty much what I've been working on solidly for the past couple of months. And now that it's over, I just sort of realize I don't know what I'm going to do now. Because it's going to be a while before my next big project like that. So, for now, I thought, you know what, I haven't done a YouTube video in a while, and there's been some news that I want to get caught up on, particularly with Uncharted. The Uncharted movie, I made a few videos talking about my excitement for this film, and since then we've got a few big headlines and a few big news stories. And as always, when I look for the online discussion of the Uncharted movies, it's always the same. It's always Tom Holland's too young to be playing Nathan Drake, and they should just be making him with Nathan Fillion instead. So let's really analyze this. So there are three news stories that came out of this. The first news story was okay. So the first news story was that Shawn Levy is no longer attached to the project, and this came out near the end of the year, and apparently. Now, I was never too keen on having Shawn Levy direct in the first place. I thought his movies tend to be very comedic. I like Night at the Museum, but I wonder if it's a bit too juvenile. And it's the closest thing that he has to Uncharted. And also, the thing about his movies is that they tend to be rated rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. He hasn't made a ton of very good ones, and the few good projects he is attached to are the ones he just produced and didn't direct. So, when he got kicked off, when he got kicked off the movie, I had very mixed opinions. On the one hand, I was like, yes, they didn't need him, they need someone else. But at the same time, I was very concerned that does this mean the movie's going to go back into development hell and we have to wait years and years before we get an update on the Uncharted movie? No. Because very quickly we got the news that they did have a director. Now, in the brief window of time that they were picking a director, I was thinking about who I would have direct the Uncharted movie, and I would have to say Jon Favreau, because he knows action, but he also knows comedy, and he can put heartwarming stuff in his movies, and he likes practical effects. At least he liked them in a lot of his older movies, but now that he's working for Disney, everything's CG. So I would definitely be very curious to see where he could go with that, but maybe Sony couldn't hire him. For whatever reason, Uncharted is happening. But, okay. I'm sorry, haven't done one of these in a while. So long story short, Jon Favreau, while he would be my choice, is not the man they went with. The man they went with was a man named Dan Trachtenberg. Now, Dan Trachtenberg is most famous for directing the 2016 film 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a very good movie. I had some minor issues with it, but overall it's a very well-directed film. He also did an episode of Black Mirror, and most interestingly to me, before he became a big director, he got started where I did, making a video game fan film, and that fan film was a little short film called Portal No Escape. Now, I saw that short film and I liked it, and I liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. This is clearly a good director, and he clearly has a good understanding of video games and why they work and how they can translate to film. So I'm very, very excited. I feel like this is a director who isn't just like, yeah, video games are just a thing that you play, and I don't care about how the movie's gonna work. Um, so, but this is a director that gets it, is what I'm trying to say. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is the from what I've seen Dan Trachtenberg do, which isn't a lot. He doesn't have that big of a resume yet. But a lot of his work seems to be all about suspense and all about like one character trapped with limited resources who has to use the best of their abilities to survive. It has to take a tiny bit, a little amount, and make it work and survive and plow through a dangerous situation. And that's what we got in the Portal fan film, and that's what we got in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and the Black Mirror bit looked a lot like that. And a lot of video games are like that, but not really Uncharted. There's a little survival element to it, but it is like far beyond the majority of it. A lot of it is just fun action comedy. It's funny because with Shawn Levy, I was concerned that he was too focused on the comedic part of the story. And with this guy, it's the other way around. I'm like, is there going to be enough comedy? Is it going to be too dark? Are we not going to, like, Shawn Levy was too light, and I'm worried that this guy might be a bit too dark. But overall, I am more excited about him as a choice than Shawn Levy. Only because I feel that he loves and respects video games, and I feel like he can make this movie work. But I'm very intrigued in this news, and this was the most exciting announcement of the three I'm going to cover. So the second news story I want to talk about is, this was a much smaller story. It didn't trend, but to me it feels like the bigger deal. So this came out a little while ago when they were talking about casting for the Uncharted movie. And to me it sort of revealed some of the plot details that they're going to go for in this new film. And one of them is that Bryan Cranston is not going to be playing the role of Victor Sullivan. So, basically, Bryan Cranston, while we were all hoping that Bryan Cranston would take on the role, unfortunately that does not seem to be the case. It looks like because this is a younger story, this is a younger Nathan Drake, they want an actor who's a little bit more in their prime to play Victor Sullivan. Now, the challenge with that is, if the actor is in their prime, then they're probably going to take some screen time away from, like the guy who's supposed to be the lead. So we need someone who can play a supporting role. And the four men that they named all kind of feel like leading actors. Well, kind of. The ones that were named, and usually when they announced a casting shortlist, that usually means it's going to be one of these actors in the final role. And those actors are Chris Hemsworth, Matthew McConaughey, Chris Pine, and Woody Harrelson. Now, I looked at this list a lot, and my first thought was not Hemsworth. Because I think Hemsworth is a great actor, but he does not have the right... I don't think he has the right voice to do this part, and I don't know if he has the right acting capabilities to convincingly play Victor Sullivan as we know him. It would be a lot of a transformation for him. And also, the fact that this is Tom Holland in this movie, I feel like they should really try and not have an actor known for playing an MCU hero in it, because then it's just going to be the Spider-Man and Thor movie, which... if you want to do a Spider-Man and Thor movie, do it in the MCU. Don't make it be like, here's the same actors in a non-Marvel movie doing it. No, like, people are already going to be looking at Nathan Drake climbing around and be like, oh, hey, it's Spider-Man. So you don't need a second Marvel character in there. Now, but the other three, I debated. I think I can kind of see Chris Pine. I think I can kind of see Chris Pine doing it if he does it well. And if he, dons the right voice for it. Woody Harrelson, at first I was excited for him in the role, because he's a guy that's known for being a character actor and for being in supporting roles and for playing mentor characters. So I could see him do it. Matthew McConaughey, I don't know. I think McConaughey has such a distinguished voice. I don't know if he could convincingly play this role. I don't know. Like, Richard McGonagall's voice is very recognizable. And actually very close to Tommy Lee Jones. So if we're going for older Sully, Tommy Lee Jones would definitely be the guy you want. But I don't know. I still think Michael Shannon would be a great Sully. But maybe they'll consider him. But of these actors, I guess I'm gonna lean a little bit more towards Pine, but Harrelson I think would also work, and maybe there's a chance McConaughey could work, but Hemsworth couldn't. Now, if you go on and read more of this article, they have some really interesting information. There's a description of Sully that is given by the studio, and here's what they say. Rugged and handsome, equal parts refinement and contagious charm, Sully is the kind of guy who turns heads when he walks into the room. Sully is a highly skilled career criminal. He knows how to read a room quickly and impressively, and nothing gets past him. He becomes Nate's mentor and teaches him everything he knows, helping mold him from a small-time pickpocket to a skilled thief. Sully has a fun banter with Nate, and although at moments he feels like a father figure to him, in truth he is self-interested above all else. Sully does care for Nate and goes against his instincts to save him in the end. So this actually feels like a pretty good description of Sully from the games, which is nice because it means they're not going to be changing too much. And the story of the film is said to take place when Nathan Drake, who's the lead of that game, and Sully, I guess you'd call him his surrogate father, were much younger. It's an origin story that evolves out of the game but is not from the game. Now, I don't know how Sam is going to be involved, because technically, Sam is Nathan's older brother, who is not mentioned until the fourth game, with the reason... It's a little unclear, but I think the reason he's not in the Uncharted 3 flashback is because he was in prison at that time, but it's also pretty clear that the gamers didn't think that far ahead, and were like, Nathan has an older brother that supposedly died in prison, but now it's going to come back for one more adventure. So it's interesting. I wonder if Sam's going to be included in the movie at all, or if they're going to cut the character entirely and rewrite Nathan's backstory, or maybe write it to just make it make sense with one mentor character and not two. So, but here's where it gets really interesting, is that it says, quote, other than Sully, the other two female leads that need to be cast are Drake's love interests, Elena Fisher and Chloe Fraser. So now they're saying that Elena and Chloe are both going to be in this movie, which is kind of crazy. As I said in my casting video, Nathan and Elena didn't meet until the events of the first game, but they're going to be changing the continuity up a bit. Now, I don't mind them changing the continuity up a bit. I don't mind seeing a bit of a different interpretation of this story and these characters, especially because one of the most challenging things in the games was watching Nate and Elena's relationship, how the writers kept having them break up in between games just so they could get back together again, and it never felt natural, and it's like, why am I rooting for this couple if they keep breaking up off screen? And also, at this point in Nathan's life, he hadn't met either of them, but it'll be really interesting to see both love interests come into play here. I almost wondered if Chloe could be introduced in the first movie and we don't see Elena until the second film. Like, yeah, they gotta be, like, planning ahead a little bit, but not too much. Like, they gotta focus on delivering a strong quality movie first, so that maybe they can get a sequel. But in terms of what I said before, I think Dove Cameron would be the best Elena Fisher, although I also named a few other actresses that would work in that role. And then Naomi Scott just had Aladdin. and she was very, very good in that role, and she looks a lot like Chloe, but I'm not sure if she could convincingly play. I mean, the accent is one thing, and maybe will the studio not be able to get her? Is she too old? Like, it might be a little bit tricky, and I'm fine with a newcomer in that role. But just knowing that Elena and Chloe are both going to be in the movie really makes me intrigued, and I can't wait to see like how this is portrayed. And then that leaves us with our final point, which is our most recent one. This was something that just came out a few days ago. So Sony announced a bunch of release dates for their upcoming projects, and one of them was Uncharted. Now, I already heard from a different source that they're going to try and film Uncharted movie at the end of 2019. So I was thinking, okay, perfect. Now, I don't know how fast you can get this thing edited, but if you can get it in by summer 2020, maybe as like an August release date, because I was looking ahead of the calendar, and like August seems to be pretty empty. But then it came out that the release date for Uncharted is going to be December 18th, 2020. Now, I hear this, and my first thought is, damn it, what's wrong with you? Like, Uncharted is a summer blockbuster. That's the very nature of the story. Why would you release it in December? So that was my first thought. But then after a while, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe they're trying to make this movie the next Jumanji. Because that movie came out in 2017, and we saw Aquaman do something similar, with this notion of coming out late in the year, in December. Like, there's a good amount of time, because if you can keep it in theaters long enough, then these films can have the month of January open to them, the entire month of January to themselves. That is, if word of mouth is strong enough. Like, a good summer blockbuster type movie, if done well, if the reviews are strong, then it can get a lot of attention. Jumanji was a surprise success because of this, and it actually kind of makes sense that Uncharted is going to try and do what Jumanji did. It still is a bit upsetting because Uncharted does scream summer blockbuster, but maybe this could work. Like, it would be pretty cool if this could work. Now, the problem is, Uncharted, as it currently stands, is set to come out the same day as Steven Spielberg's West Side Story remake, which is an issue, because that movie supposedly is going to be a big deal, and I hope that one of them moves so that they don't come out on the same day. With that being said, maybe it won't be such a big deal. I feel like people are trying to catch on. People are finally starting to catch on to the fact that Hollywood tends to make a lot of remakes to movies that were damn near perfect the first time, instead of making a remake of a movie that's actually flawed and could use a reimagining. But, I don't know, we'll see how Lion King does. I have a sneaking suspicion that Lion King will not do very well, because people know that it's pointless. Although West Side Story is, in many respects, doing what Aladdin did, and actually casting people of color to play people of color, so maybe that can help it. And maybe it can be an Oscar thing, although Oscars and box office do not go especially well together. Uncharted's going to come out around the same time, and I'm not asking for Uncharted to be an Oscar movie. I think that was never going to happen, but box office and good reviews, I think, are doable. Especially since Detective Pikachu just came out, and that, it didn't get a lot of press for it, but it was the first video game movie to receive a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. So, kudos to them for that. And it does seem to have quite a bit of a fan base. So, maybe Hollywood's finally starting to figure out how to do this video game movie thing right. Like, that would be amazing if they figured it out. And the early word on Uncharted is good. Maybe we could... I mean, I'm saying that, but it feels like Uncharted could be a very good film, and maybe we're about to enter the renaissance of video game movies. I mean, maybe they're finally starting to be good again. all these exciting ones coming out. There's that news about PlayStation being bought and how they're going to try and do Last of Us and Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War, which Horizon Zero Dawn, to me, I feel like it's more of an HBO series, but whatever. God of War, I hope is good. I feel like it has the potential to be very good. And also, don't mean to brag, but I made a video game movie myself, and link in the description. Who am I kidding? I totally mean to brag. I feel like I've earned the right to brag at this point. A little bit. So, yeah, that's basically everything about the Uncharted movie. That's 3 big news stories, and I'll try to keep you updated because it's a big deal. And I think soon I'm going to post a video about potential Oscar predictions for the coming year, because I've been doing a lot of charts about that, and that's a good way to keep myself sane, a good thing to focus on and keep my brain healthy, making those Oscar charts. So, yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys liked the video. Thank you for watching. See ya.